Welcome to the Motordrome, from the oval track to garages and everywhere in between. Thanks to our sponsor, Competition Distributing.
Hey everybody, Sean here, coming at you. We got our good buddy Eric Lund, Graybeard's Bikes. He's going to be one of the racers in our new race coming up in September 26th in Erie, Pennsylvania. The Motordrome by the Bay. This is going to be our first race of this nature. It is an oval track race on the banked asphalt. And so far we have, I think it's like 25 riders and over 30 bikes. So we're really looking forward to it. We're really glad Eric joined us here today. We're going to be going through everything that Eric's up to right now, what he's got going in the shop, what he's building, and what he's going to be bringing to the race and what he's looking forward to. So, hey Eric, how's it going, man?
Good, thank you, Sean. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for joining us. I think I met you. I'm trying to remember how long ago now. I think it was like, probably close to 4 years ago. 4, maybe even 5 years ago. It was right when our first race at Sons of Speed. I'm pretty sure you were involved in it back then as well. And I know you were kind of down on the other side of where the pits and stuff were set up, but you usually race with Mike Lang and them guys, right?
Yeah, that's actually, believe it or not, Mike Lang doesn't live but maybe a half hour, 40 minutes from me. And I'm in contact with him quite a bit, but I knew who he was, but I did not know him. And I met him actually back at the SOS, in the early days. I met him for the first time there and introduced myself, and we become really good friends actually. So,
that's pretty cool.
That's Tennessee, I think too. I think you and I had talked quite a few times out there.
Yeah, I do remember. Tennessee's always a little bit more of a how do you say that? More
camp
like
style.
Yeah, I can't exactly. Everybody's kind of with each other all the time. It's not as hectic as Florida was, but that's where I met you with Sons of Speed, and pretty much everybody else is going to be doing this race with us too. But over the years, it's kind of one of those things where it's such a small community, just like antiques in general. But everybody, gets really close, and then they help each other working on bikes, build motors, whatever that may be, even behind the scenes. But let's what I don't really know exactly all the other things you do behind the scenes outside of racing. What do you do? What's your shop involved, and what kind of stuff goes on there?
Well, my shop it's a small shop. I'm not big. I'm a one-man operation. I have a few friends, and a couple of guys that help me out part-time. I actually started my business officially in 2019. I didn't really want a business, to be honest with you. I've been wrenching on bikes for many, since I was a young adult, and I fell into it. One of my mentors in the vintage world started stepping back and sending me a lot of business, and it became the liability, everything else like that. So I had to make it official, and I've been going strong since 2019. Do a lot of work on the modern stuff, a lot of twin cam work, a lot of Milwaukee 8s and stuff, but since I ran into Mike Lang and I ran into, a couple of my other dear friends and mentors, I really enjoy and got into a lot of vintage stuff. So I do a lot of flathead engine builds. I do a lot of transmission work, a lot of shovel head, pan head, knucklehead, stuff like that. So it keeps me busy. I like I had mentioned to you a little bit earlier, I mean, this has probably been my busiest year to date.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a really cool thing what you're doing. It's really relatable to what we're doing over here at Competition. Same thing. It's pretty much a one-man shop. I mean, obviously, I have other people helping on some other things, but as far as the mechanical work and stuff like that, it's just myself usually. And I really enjoy other people doing the same thing because it's like you can relate to them a little easier. And you kind of understand the ups and downs of a one-man show and kind of the day ins and day outs, and the stresses it puts on you, that kind of thing. So it's really cool you're making it work, and I'm really glad to hear that you're busy.
As a matter of fact, you built my front end for me. Like I'm sure I would think you remember that, but that 24 JD I'm going to build for the racetrack, and you actually built that front end for me. And what a beautiful piece of work that is.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I really enjoy is, fabricating and building chassis and race bikes and that kind of thing. And that's one of the things I was going to bring up during our conversation here was what we would really like to do with this race, and like what we're kind of envisioning for the future of it, is, don't get me wrong, I love flatheads, I love 45s, and I definitely think they're a very crucial part of this event going forward. And I definitely want to keep that, what it is right now. But I would really love to get more guys like yourself, especially guys that are already kind of racing in it and the outlaw style, like what we're doing. I'd like to get them more guys to do the board track stuff, like that front end that I built you. And I think you said you were working on a motor for that, weren't you?
Yeah, actually, it's that guy right up sitting on the top of my cabinet behind me. I had actually purchased a motor from a guy in Northern Illinois, and it was a good motor, but there was issues with the case and stuff. And I found in Davenport at the swap meet, I found a beautiful 1924 case. And the thing with this motor here is not only am I going to build the motor, I'm building the chassis by hand as well.
That's awesome.
I was able to acquire the castings for it. So it's a work in progress. It's a long-term work in progress for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, Sean, or not, but I'm not a racer.
Well, yeah, I heard you say that before, and I would beg to differ with you after watching you last few years on the track there. So.
Well, I mean, you learn as you go along or whatever, but I didn't really build a race motor until I got involved with it, till right around the time that I had met you for the first time.
Okay.
I fell into it through a customer of mine. Asked me, he saw the race down in Florida and asked me to build him a race or a motor for that and build him a bike for it. So I took a perfectly brand new street motor apart and built a race motor to the best of my knowledge at the time. And I never had the desire to race or anything like that. But, as I mean, you're running this operation. You have the passion, your whole team has this passion to do this. And you certainly understand the addiction of it. And once I built that first bike, and then did a second one and put John Smallwood's son Jake on it for the second race, man, I was hooked.
Oh yeah.
After that, it was like, no, I'm doing it. And knock on wood. I mean, it's been a good time. It's been safe, and I've done fairly well. So I'm proud of what I've done so far.
I was gonna say, you're racing in one of the more competitive classes. You're racing 45 flatheads, and anybody that's seen these in the past, Sons of Speed or any other vintage race events, they understand that those 45s are extremely fast. That's probably one of the fastest bikes out there, and it's not a cakewalk by any means. You're racing some of the greats. You got, you're racing against Mike Lang, which is an absolute legend beyond belief. He's been
eBay Jake.
Yeah, eBay Jake.
Man.
Oh yeah, Billy Applegate has been raced in the past. Watching him, I mean, there's just tons and tons of good guys in that 45 class. So that's not an easy thing to do. And I will say, watching you over the years, you can definitely see the improvements like every time you're out there. Because the other thing that people might not understand about this type of racing either is we don't really get a lot of practice. Like, we have like usually a day before the actual race starts, or maybe 2 days if we're lucky. But when you're out there just running laps and getting your bike test and tuned, that's like your practice. You don't have anywhere around home to like go out and open up a antique motorcycle with no brakes or anything like that. So any kind of improvement in a short period of time, especially over the a few seasons like you've been doing, that's a pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah, and I can tell you there's been more than one occasion the night before the race we're yanking motors out of bikes, and the same with the JDs and swapping them out the night before the race because something happens during practice and stuff. And the neat thing that I really enjoy is the I guess kind of the liberty of what we get to do with racing. We're not sanctioned, and to me that's a big thing. A lot of us guys out there who's been in the motorcycle world for a long time, we kind of did our own thing and enjoyed life kind of the way we wanted to, And we still put a lot of rules and stuff on us, and we have our rules, but it's still a high energy type of race that is. I don't want to, I guess you could use the word outlaw, right? But it's go, and it's extremely exciting.
Right. Yeah, and that's it's really fun. There's going to be a lot of people here. One of the big things we're excited about is, usually primarily when we're racing SOS, it's usually down in Florida, and the furthest north we ever really got with it was in the Tennessee track in Hohenwald there. And this is going to be like the kind of first time that we really get it up north on the East Coast side, And I know you're from Wisconsin, but still you're relatively close compared to what we've been doing, over the last few years with going all the way down to Florida, Tennessee. Yep. There's a huge community up here in the Northeast, motorcycles, and Tom and I have been talking, and Sammy Kells and our whole team, but there's like a really massive following up here of like legitimate old school bikers, like you were just talking about. And, I've been riding bikes ever since I was legal enough to ride a motorcycle. I was 15 years old, had a Harley Davidson. I was lucky, as a kid, but I was brought up in that, that kind of that biker community, and the old school guys, like, they go out to ride. That's what they do. There's no other things. It's about motorcycles. And I think we're going to have a really, really good turnout. And I think it's going to be really cool for them to finally have the opportunity to come see this kind of racing, because there's not really a lot of that around anymore in general, let alone, in this side of the country. I know out west they do a bunch of flat track racing and stuff, but this is going to be a really good opportunity to see how the Northeast really turns out. Because, we have New York, we have Pennsylvania and Ohio, and those are all huge areas for motorcycles, especially in the antique motorcycles. I can't tell you how many old knuckleheads and flatheads and stuff Tom's pulled out of Ohio. It just, for some reason, it's like the epicenter of all that. So it should be really interesting to see how that all goes.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And I've had this JD project going for a couple of years now, quite honestly. And, because I've been focusing on business, and then I'm building motors for other racers as well, right, along with my stuff. And this is kind of a refresher and a revamp to get motivated to get this 24 on the track. I've never really ridden a JD before. I've done a little bit of it down on the track in Florida or whatever. I'm really excited about being able to build a chassis that's going to fit me, a customized chassis or whatever. And quite honestly, the racing is fun and it's exciting, but for me and you, because you're doing it as well, it's the building and being able to, construct something and create something, and then make it go fast and be safe, quite honestly.
Right. Go out there and not die, right?
Yeah, right.
No, that's you hit the nail on the head there. That's what it's all about. I can't tell you the kind of pride that you feel when you can actually say you built something with your own two hands, let alone, the chassis, the motor, whatever, and take it out on that track and open it up for the first time and kind of see what all your work, what you were able to accomplish. And it's even more exciting to go back to the shop and kind of, change a game plan, be like, oh, this is what we did right. We got to improve in this area, make it better here. That's what's so fun about this kind of racing. And like you said, it's non-sanctioned, so it's a little bit more lackadaisical in the way where, maybe particularly your bike's not running 100% when we're firing up to start on the line. And, we'll kind of pause the race for you to get you out there. You didn't drive all across the country to come to the race and not make it out on the track in time to qualify for, heat or whatever. So.
Well, and I think that's the neat thing about a lot of the racers that are going to be there. And, and I would imagine, and I hope there's going to be a lot of new racers, because like you mentioned earlier, we get to know each other, the racers do, in the infield. And quite honestly, we get to know some of the spectators too, as they come and look at the bikes and stuff like that. You become friends with them. Right. And the amount of respect that I guess that we have for each other, when somebody's bike is down, I mean, if there is a part available, it's given to them. Everybody and anybody is doing anything they can to get the bike on the track. My very first race when I built for, actually it was for Matt Sorensen, who was racing with us, I'm sorry, it was for Jake Smallwood. The second race, we lost a lifter, literally an hour before the track started. And I swear anybody and everybody up and down that track was scrambling for a lifter, and we were yanking. We had that cylinder pulled off, that bike pulled apart, and a guy found us a lifter, and we had that thing back together. And somebody was timing us. I think it was like 31 minutes.
Wow,
Made the race fairly well, you know.
That's
so
crazy.
It's cool the way these guys, you know, and they all understand it. They understand that, you know, you're much closer than Florida now. Naturally, for me, I think you're like it's 7, maybe 8 hours or something like that, you know. But it's still a haul, you know, to haul all your equipment, and
right,
you know, to get everybody on the track is important to all of us.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing, like track time is huge. And we understand that. We want to make sure everybody that's there, you know, to the best of anybody's abilities has, you know, the best chance possible to go out and actually compete in the race and the class that they intended. And that's the other thing I'll bring up too, while we're on the subject, is we've been talking, you know, this is our first time being close to a track. You know, we're the same thing. We're usually traveling super, super far from home, just like you are right now. And, you know, we're going to have the setup where we have the Friday is going to be our test day, our test and tune. So we'll have pretty much 2 different blocks throughout the entire day to test and get the bike set up for that track. Because the other thing is, this is a track that none of us have raced on yet, right? So we got to gear the bikes. A lot of people don't understand that are outside of this. You know, we're racing with no transmission, you know, no shifting and no brakes. So that means you got to have your bike geared just perfectly. That way you're in your power band at the right times, and you let off at the right time, and you can get it back. Because with no brakes, it's kind of, you know, you have to make all those adjustments. But what I'm trying to get at is we're going to make sure that our shop here at Competition is completely accessible to you guys if there's any catastrophic issues, like, you know, where you need, you know, heavy equipment, welders, any kind of machine shop, stuff like that. You know, you guys can more than welcome. We'll have the shop open all night, you know, while you guys are here to take care of you. So,
well, I know myself and all the other racers are certainly going to appreciate that. And God willing, we don't need your shop.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, it's a thing, a courtesy that we hope we don't have to use. But so Eric, tell us a little bit about your bike that you're going to be bringing for sure, that you're going to be racing in what class.
So I'm going to run the Hot 45, like I've been doing previously. The bike that I am bringing, I just built this past winter. I'm sorry, 2 winters ago. I did take it down to Florida last spring, and I had the wrong carburetor on it, quite honestly. So it is a flathead 45. It's a stock chassis. You know, it's an original frame chassis. I do build my own wheel setup, so I can do the gear changes, sprocket changes and stuff in the rear. So I do build them wheels from scratch to
cool.
be able to look what I'm trying to do. So, and then of course the engine I built here as well. I built the transmission and the engine here with all my modifications. I'm not going to tell you all my secrets naturally, but
oh, come on, man! I was going to try to get some information out of there.
Well, you know, anybody and everybody knows it. I did cams, you know. I put the high performance cams in there, you know, and I upgraded the pistons, and there's a few little other tweaks that I've done inside there or whatever. And I am running a big bore carb on there as well. So there has been some modifications, and the carb that I had on there last year just didn't perform. Brand new carb. I got back from the track and it went straight in the garbage. And
what was it? Was it just not enough fuel for your setup, or?
I just couldn't get it dialed in.
Gotcha.
I just could not get that thing tuned. There's way too many. My original bike that I had that I now use for the dirt tracks, you know, I was using a smaller version of that carb, and I got lucky, and it was a bolt and plug and play and go. You know, the second bike, I just could not get that thing dialed in to save my life. And so I was thinking about going with a Linkert, and as you know, the Linkerts don't have the return. You know, it's push throttle, so on and so forth. And I looked at it as a little bit of a safety issue. So I did go with a more modern carburetor on the one that I have now. And I did race it this past spring, and the bike was I was really impressed with it.
Oh, good. Yeah,
I raced against Dan Tost. He beat me. But boy, we we put a run on with each other. I mean, we kind of agreed we wanted to put a good show on for the crowd, and
Right.
you know, I think we did. And the bike, I am really happy with it. You know, for a guy who has wrenched all his life and made motorcycles go down the street, and not really was concerned about the performance stuff, and doing what I do now, you know, I'm really happy with the result of this one. So eBay Jake's fast. Is Dusty, I believe, is he coming? I don't know.
Rusty. Yeah, Rusty.
Yeah.
Rusty. Yeah. We haven't talked to Rusty yet. eBay is coming. So eBay will be, we're going to put him on one of our Hot 61s, actually the my 19, which is behind me right here.
Yeah,
so he'll be on that motor. That motor's finished, ready to go. I have to put that in my board track chassis. And then he will also be racing on our Red Hot 45, the one that Tom has. So you know, you guys will be racing against him.
Yeah, there's going to be some good competition. Mike Lang.
Yeah,
that guy is a beast in his own right. You know, so
yeah, Mike's always fast, but he never breaks.
And that guy looks like he's just glued in that bike. I mean, he's just that bike. You know, I've seen a lot of guys racing now, and I've seen them on the big tracks. I've seen him at Davenport, Wasion, stuff like that, dirt tracks. But for whatever reason, Mike Lane gets on that bike and he's just like there. You know, it's really,
it's crazy. It's crazy. Like Mike is literally that motorcycle. Every bike that he races, it's like it's a part of him. It's just an extension of his body, because like I think he's just been doing it physically so long that he is just so comfortable and he knows the bike so well. It just, you know, he never misses his line. He's always in the perfect line. He's like, if anybody that's coming out to see us for the first time, it's going to be watching this podcast. You got to keep an eye out for Mike, because it's like, if you want to learn how to, you know, possibly do this someday, or just see how you're supposed to do it, you watch Mike, and that's like the grade A go-to guy. It's really impressive.
100%. You know, and I'm not going to lie, there was a couple times down on the Florida track where, you know, I'd be out there for however long running laps and circles or whatever, and I get tired and I'm ready to come in. And the last couple of years, I mean, he'd sneak out on the track as I'm ready to come in, and I'm like, that I'm not going in. And
right.
I'd chase him and I would follow his line, and I'd call it stealing tricks, I guess, if you want. But
that's what it's all about.
Benefited me as a racer. You know.
Yeah. Any chance, any opportunity you get to do something like that, especially with somebody of Mike's status, you got to take it. I'll never forget. I think it was like 3 years ago. It was 2 or 3 years ago. I was racing him in the board track class in the regular 61 class, and I remember like it was my first time out there, like in an actual race environment. You know, like I had been running practice laps to get the bike kind of set up, and I remember him coming up next to me, like we were grouping up, because people that haven't seen this yet, what we usually do is and same with our race, we're going to do a rolling start. So it's not a stop to go. None of these bikes have a transmission. So you're going to be going in your desired gear, or if you're running a board track, just your drive setup, and you're going to get a rolling start off turn 4. So what we do is a pace bike packs us up, and we're going to roll off, once the flag drops at turn 4. And I remember Mike and I, and, a couple other guys, I think Rusty was actually out there. He was racing for Curtis at the time. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, holy cow, I'm on the track racing with Mike Lang right now. I just remember like being like, kind of fanboying while I'm out there racing against this guy. But not too long.
It's a whole different environment, whole different feeling. You can go out there and practice all day long and be with other guys, but once that flag drops, man, it's a different feeling. And I don't think it's only a different feeling for us. I think it's a big different feeling for the crowd, because everybody knows it's game on at that point, right? And
right. You're all friends helping each other in the pits, but as soon as that flag drops, everybody's like, guns out. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I'm excited to see you. I'm excited to see the bike. We're kind of bummed we missed March of this year. We haven't missed one in a long time, and it just didn't feel right not being there. But same thing. Plans get in the way in business, and when you're running a small business, sometimes you gotta cut and run. But we got a really good turnout here. We got a lot of guys coming. I think Dan Tost is signing up. I think he talked to Tom. pretty
is.
much everybody so everybody that we race against and that people are familiar with. And we do have a few new guys kind of trickling in too. We got some guys signed up. I think there's one or two from Cleveland area, which is really exciting. And I think there's another guy from New York that's going to be joining us. But
I got a bike right behind me here on the lift, and it was a local racer. He's actually from Pennsylvania.
okay.
And he's been over in this area for just 35, 40 years. You know, he's a little older than me, probably Mike Lang's age, I guess. And he's been racing dirt tracks forever. Knows a lot of guys in your area. And he's been over here for 40 plus years working for Harley Engineer, Harley or whatever.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's good.
And he asked me to help him finish this bike up because he's moving back to Pennsylvania. And I said, well, you're moving back to Pennsylvania. You may want to think about this race here. So we may have another guy that might want to jump on board here.
Oh, man, that'd be awesome. Yeah, try to talk him into it because we're trying to, we're like I said, we're at probably just guesstimating because a lot of, as a lot of guys race more than one bike. Nick Hunter just signed up here. I think it was end of last week. So we're really excited to have Nick and his crew. But he's a really good competitor, one of the good ones. Him and his son, and Myron and them guys, Bruce partly. But we have I think right now we're at 30 some bikes. With the 25, 26 riders that we have. So I think we're in really good shape. Obviously I'm trying to grow the single class even more. We're trying to get. We got our pea shooter, the one I built 3 years ago. We got one of our buddies, Tyler Valetnik. He's going to be on. He's going to be on that for us. I'm going to be racing in one of our other singles, Fast Betsy, and then Tom's nephew, Johnny Banks, is coming in. We're going to put him on a single in the single class. So we're trying to build that single class up, which is the same as a board track, just one less cylinder.
Yep.
Obviously, hopefully, get more board track bikes in the future. I think Tom said he was talking to a couple other guys that are board track, leaning towards the board track side. And there's some guys back, when Billy first started the SOS, I think there was a couple guys on board track bikes that haven't raced in a while. And I think I was talking to Nathan yesterday. He was saying about trying to get them to come out. So we'll see how it goes, but it's definitely shaping up to be pretty fun so far. So.
Well, if everything goes to plan and business is successful and time willing, we'll have another one. Hopefully we do this again next year. I'm already looking towards after this year.
I know. Yeah.
Hopefully I have another fight going on there. So
yeah. It's one of those things, it's we have to do this kind of stuff to keep antique stuff alive and keep that passion going, because I think who's probably the youngest guy that's doing this with us right now? Would it be Jake?
Probably, yeah. I would think probably Jay, maybe Matt Sorensen, maybe Jay Wright, possibly Jay Wright. Jake Smallwood was involved with SOS for a while. He wants to definitely get back out there. I think he's younger than all of them, quite honestly.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he was pretty young. I know. Yeah. Tom's nephew, he's pretty young. Johnny, he's in his late 20s, so he's pretty young too.
He might be
Hunter Jr.
Oh yeah, how old's Nick Hunter Jr.?
Yeah, he's pretty young.
I don't know.
He's in his 20s. I'm pretty sure he's young.
He's a hell of a racer.
Yo, he's great. He's that whole crew, man. It's that's you can tell that they're into it. I mean, I think Nick is probably one of the most serious competitors I've met. He's all business, which is awesome. It's really good to have guys like that involved. But the thing is if we can keep stuff like this going and keep people interested in it and try to grow the sport as much as we can by doing stuff like this, this is another reason we really want to do these podcasts with the racers, because we want to give people the chance to know the people they're going to watch, right? It's you can show up to the track the day of and, watch a bunch of guys on old motorcycles go rip around. But it's really cool when you can say oh, hey, I kind of know something about that guy and know what he does, know what it took to get here. And, same with the VIP stuff, when we open up the center of the track for people to come down and meet the racers and get pictures and autographs and stuff like that, sign whatever. It's just more of a way to connect and possibly ignite that flame in the next generation. Because it doesn't matter how old you are, you can get into this stuff. And just because, a lot of people are like, oh, how do I, like, where do I get started? It's like talking to guys like yourself, and kind of figuring out like, hey, you don't have to like come from this. Like you can work your way into this, if you're interested in it. So that's what
And
really
that's
matters.
one of the neat things I think, especially like my area, for example, I have parents, I work on their dad's motorcycles and they bring the kids over. And, a lot of the guys that we race with, they're not shy. They'll take a young kid or a young, son or daughter or somebody's niece, nephew or whatever. And they'll say, get on the seat, get on the bike,
Right.
start it up for them. And, the way the world works these days, to have that outlet of something that we're doing is a big thing,
Right.
And
Right.
quite honestly, I think a lot of kids out there, they like to accomplish things. They like to have a dream and something to strive for. And I will say I had my mentor at my last race, and it's probably one of the best races I've ever done in my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Races where I want to do it again and I want to race like that, but at the same time I don't. So it was a pretty intense race, and I was fortunate that my mentor was down there from here, and to see the look in his eyes and I guess kind of the proudness, of what he see even me accomplish, and right. I see that in some guys. I see it like, in like Jake Smallwood and some of these other Jay Wright, I see that guy, and I help him out. We're friends, but man, I am immensely proud of that kid because he is just a talent that appreciates what we do. It's really cool to watch.
Right. You can see how excited he is about it and how much effort he puts into, trying to get better every time he goes out.
Yeah. This is our legacy, right? I mean, people have whatever, and I never grew up in my life thinking that I wanted to leave anything behind, not to mention a legacy, but this is kind of our legacy, and what little bit we can pass on, it's going to mean a lot to somebody, hopefully someday,
Well, that's the thing, I'm a huge history buff. Like, board track racing is my favorite thing on the planet. It has been since I was young. I don't know what it is. I think initially it was the style of the bikes and then the speeds that they were going back in the early teens. It drew me to it. But when you look back and you read those stories about, all the factory racers and the bikes and all the developments of racing, and when you start to realize the reason we have everything we have now in motorsports wise was because of what they did back in 1900. It really gives you more appreciation to what we're doing, and it's like you just said, we're trying to ignite that flame and keep it going. And it's like, someday we might think it's kind of silly right now, like sitting here going, oh, it's just we're a bunch of good buddies hanging out, and then when every once in a while we'll go out and race and try to win and go as fast as we can on these 100-year-old machines or whatever. But, someday somebody looking back might really take inspiration in that and might keep that, try to do something else or keep this sport going. Well, we're long gone, So,
yep.
Those guys back then never thought their race bikes would be worth, $500,000-$600,000. They were junking them and stuff.
You mentioned that, and it's not a JD, but I was able to pick up from Eric Bass this past year or so, an actual WR racer that was raced over in Asheville, North Carolina area. It was Alex Swing raced it, and that particular bike set 2 AMA records back in, wow, I think the 50s, 60s, something like that. And it's not a runner right now. It will be, and it's going to be patinaed exactly the same way it is now when I'm done with it, and I'm going to race it like that. But
that's awesome. That's history.
Yeah, and my guess is a guy like Eric or Alex Swing probably never in a million years thought that some guy in a little shop in Wisconsin would just be dreaming about owning a bike that he raced. Right.
So, that's so cool. That's so cool. That you'll have to show me some pictures of that at some point. I would love to see that because that's the kind of stuff. I was just talking to somebody the other day about WRs, and I think we just did a local show last on Saturday to promote the race, letting our local area know that we're bringing this race to the town. And a local guy, a younger guy, showed up, him and his dad, and they were asking me about 45 parts. They said, "Hey, we want to get into this. We went down to Sons of Speed for the first time last March, and we'd like to do your race too, but we don't really know what we're doing. And I'm like, well, listen, I'm not really a 45 guy. I'm more of a J and early bike guy, but I know a ton of guys there are 45 guys, and your name was brought up as well as Mike's and a bunch of other people. And I just told him, like, hey, listen, if you guys are really serious about this, come hang out with us at the race at the pits. I can introduce you to some guys and get you going, because it's like they're talking about WRs, WLDRs, regular 45s,
Yep.
and how to pump them up and that kind of thing. And that's what I told him. I'm like, well, I don't know how serious you want to get, but I was like, the WRs and WLDRs, that's going to be a little bit more, costly.
Yeah, it's a little more up there in the price range, but I guess that's one of the neat things about what we do, and I guess maybe one of the attractive things about the 45s is they're a little bit more reasonably cost, I guess, compared to a lot of other things. But that's one of the neat things that you guys are doing. You're making parts available for guys that want to get into it to be able to build and keep this going. And that's, in my book, that's pretty damn cool,
right,
to make that stuff available, because you know as well as I do, some of this stuff is not accessible, and sometimes if it is, it's just not in an average guy's price range,
right.
And, if you want to keep our sport and, our history, I guess, and everything else like that alive, it's got to be accessible for the future. My mentor has always told me, Eric, you don't own any motorcycles. Maybe on paper you own them, he says, but quite honestly, you don't own any of them. You're borrowing them for now, and eventually, hopefully, they go to somebody else. So you're just a caretaker.
Yep, that's a great way to look at it. We talk about that all the time. Just a caretaker till the next person gets it.
Yep. Yeah.
Hopefully
we don't crash them.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, from time to time it does happen. Obviously we're hoping, we wish nothing but the best. We're out there racing ourselves, so we don't want to see any of that stuff. But we'll be prepared as we can for if somebody did have any kind of accident or mess up like that. But so if somebody's looking to get a hold of you, Eric, for shop work or anything, do you have any contact information or social media or anything for them to reach out to you? Like if somebody does want to have a 45 race bike or anything worked on motorcycle wise?
Yeah. So I have all the normal social media stuff. The Instagram is really common for people to contact me at Graybeards plural. I'm sorry, Graybeards Bikes on Instagram. Facebook is just Graybeards Motorcycle Service. It's GRUI. Everybody likes to spell with an A, and I don't know why I decided E, but it's GRUI.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I also have some people contact me through my regular Facebook page at Eric Lundy, RIKLUND.
Okay.
Contact me that way. And then also they message me quite a bit actually through my webpage. And that again is Graybeards Motorcycle Service on the website. I have been so busy lately and just insane that I haven't done much social media at all. I have video of the race from March that I haven't posted or done anything with.
Wow.
I also, because I'm not making the race in Tennessee, I kind of feel bad. I feel bad about not being able to make it. So I want to make an announcement to the people that follow me, that I'm sorry I'm not going to be at, because I do have people come from Wisconsin to a lot of these races, and they're asking me all the time, so I got to let them know that I'm not going to be there, but I am going to be in Pennsylvania for your race, and I'm going to start stepping that pretty big time because that's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to having you, Eric. It was awesome to see when you signed up. Actually, you were signed up pretty early once we pretty much announced it, and that was our thing, making sure that we try to get as much of our friends and people that we've already raced with back as we possibly can, and then obviously introducing some new guys. And we're gonna try to keep it that track, camaraderie, family environment. Is working on doing something special for you guys. Hopefully Friday night we're gonna try to put something together. So we're working on a bunch of stuff right now, but definitely appreciate the support. Super awesome. We were going to have you and pretty much the rest of the guys from Wisconsin. You guys, because you guys were always all pitted together down there. And
well, I'm
you
sure
know,
you're going to get the offer from all the other racers too, you know, and if there's anything that we can, you know, we can do from here, myself or anybody else around this area, we certainly will to help out, you know.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. Same. Like I said, we're going to open the shop to you guys. So I don't want you guys stressing, like if you did have a major issue or something that's not really easily fixable in the pits, which let's not kid ourselves. Most of the pits there are usually mechanical mobile workshops anyway, but
Yeah.
if the rare case where we do have to, we're gonna try to, you know, we'll open our machine shop and stuff to you guys. So whatever you guys need. So,
We appreciate
but
that.
yeah, no problem, man. But thanks for joining, Eric. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with us, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you on race day.